Hello and welcome to the Raising Anchor Soccer Show, your source for all things Rhode Island FC. I'm your host, Matt Entrigan, and joining me today is an individual who many fans should know, but maybe haven't quite met. But if they listen to the show, I can guarantee you one thing: they've heard this voice thousands of times. It's the one and only JuJu, or as he is better known, the public address announcer at Centerville Bank Stadium and the voice of RIFC. JuJu, so excited to have you on the show. Welcome, and this is going to be so much fun. You're here in the studio. This is going to be a blast today.
Matt, I appreciate you for having me here today. I'm just excited for the fans to get to know me a little bit better, but this is awesome. This space is beautiful, so I appreciate you having me.
It's always so much more fun when we get to do these in person than versus, Zoom. So you're already, when we talk about the trifecta of the voice, the face, and the sound of Rhode Island FC, we had Flanny on last season, and he didn't want to come down to the studio, so you already are going higher in the tier for me personally. Want to start by asking the obvious. JuJu, where did this name come from? What's the story behind it, and how do we know you and love you as JuJu?
Awesome, man. So, man, my nickname, it's funny, but my nickname is really Pawtucket, and that's like it's from Pawtucket. It's bread and butter. My government name, my real name is Justin DeCosta. Definitely proud of my name, proud of my last name, proud of just my parents for giving me that name. But I think there's just something about the city that molds you a little bit and kind of, takes you in. Doesn't give you a new name, but just adds a little bit of flavor. And I think that's what Pawtucket naturally did to me growing up. But also just I see people come through here a lot and they get a little bit more spice. You know what I mean? JuJu, honestly, I went to golf middle school. So let's start here. I'm Pawtucket bred through and through. I went to Potter Burns Elementary School. Then I transferred to Kirvin McCabe Elementary School. Went to golf middle school, and then I'm a Tolman High School grad, 2021. So I'm a public school student from Pawtucket. So that's another like badge I wear on my chest as well. Sometime in golf, I remember it specifically. It was one of my best friends, Chloe. We were just like making nicknames for everybody. And usually JuJus are like Julians. So like whenever somebody like gets to know my real name, they're like, oh, I wouldn't have guessed that. I'm like, yeah. Because I think Justin's a cool name too. But JuJu, it's just like got some flavor to it. So one of my best friends, Chloe, she was always calling me that. And then from there, it just kind of like spread throughout the classroom. Like seventh grade, everybody's just calling me JuJu. And then slowly, like I would incorporate that with my like Instagram handles. And then now it's more just Ju now. You know what I mean? Like I even it got abbreviated more once I went to Tolman.
Even shorter than the short one was.
Like it's like professionally I'm JuJu. To the people in the bucket, like and in the city, like it's Ju. And then like people that really don't know me or they see me on LinkedIn, it's like, oh, that's Justin. And I'm like, sure.
What does the family call you then? How about that? What's the end all be all there?
So my mom and dad, they troll me sometimes. They'll throw a JuJu in, and I'm like, all right. Like honestly, like I rarely get called, I guess, by my name when I'm communicating, if that makes sense. I'm not really doing anything crazy. So it's not like I'm too little anymore where I gotta get yelled at. But whenever they obviously call me Justin when they're, introducing me to people or if they're just talking about me. My family's always raving about me, so it's awesome.
Do you get the full name when you're in trouble? Is that a thing that happens?
So my dad's name's Daniel, and that's my middle name. So like my friends will even troll me. They'll be like, "Hey, Justin Daniel," or like that's what my people call, like my family will call me too. But that's like the fun spin on things. But JuJu has just become. It's more of like a character now, I guess. Like it became a nickname in middle school, but now it's kind of like an alter ego, I guess you could say, especially when I'm like in performance, like sports and Rhode Island FC and just all the other various things I do. It's kind of like a mode that I tap into. Like you hear a name like JuJu, especially when I'm like out to eat or something like that. Like I was at Chick-fil-A yesterday, and they were like, I do this every time. They're like, oh, can I get a name for your order? And I'm with my dad. I'm like, JuJu, J-U-J-U. Because like sometimes when I say JuJu, they look up and I'm like, yeah, J-U. Like that's how it is. So
I make up my name every single time someone asks. And sometimes I forget the name I've made up, so I'll stand there for an extra like 30 seconds. Yeah. Like, where is my drink? Oh wait, no. I am Rupert today. I don't know why I picked that, but like I'm Rupert. So no, that's all. And I appreciate the spelling. Do you ever go to Starbucks? Because I'm sure they still screw it up even if you give them the 4 letters.
So what's funny is I always do mobile orders on Starbucks. I always drink iced matcha latte.
You're a planner. You get ahead of it. Okay.
I'm a matcha guy. I always have the sticker. But there was one time last week I got some matcha, And one of the baristas, she literally like drew my name in like box letters. I was like, oh, you guys had time today. I appreciate that.
So I really appreciate you starting this, by the way, with kind of, your background in Pawtucket, because I think one of the most important things that people take away from this conversation today is understanding really where your roots are. And I think we got to start kind of at the beginning of asking, you're such an entrenched personality and ambassador within the city of Pawtucket. I want to ask how, if a Rhode Island filmmaker were to come along and say they wanted to document your origin story in your life, how does a guy like you go from the streets of Pawtucket and become a public address announcer? And also there's a lot of entanglement you have beyond Rhode Island FC. There's your connections with Providence College Athletics. There's your connections with URI. There's just your overall connections with the city of Pawtucket in an official capacity. How does a kid from the streets go from that to all the incredible things that you're doing now? Like, what's that journey for a Rhode Island filmmaker to make?
I think the opening scene starts in Tolman High School. I always say I wouldn't be who I am today. I'm not sitting in this room if I did not go to Tolman High School. And that's the thing. Like where we're from in Pawtucket growing up has always been a very clowned on city. Like, at least from what I've experienced, like, especially once I first got into college, like I would talk about, where everybody else is from. And people would be like, oh, Pawtucket, you know what I mean? Or even when I was at Tolman, I had a lot of friends that, maybe went to charter schools, Catholic schools, private schools, stuff like that. And they would be like, Tolman. And I'd be like, yeah, like Tolman. Like, that's where I go. And I think it really started off, like, the reason why I'm sitting here today, the reason why I have various roles is because there was a turning point during my sophomore year of high school. So I was about 15, 16 years old. It was 2019. So we're looking at 7 years ago now. I wanted to transfer to the private school in Pawtucket. I wanted to transfer to St. Ray's. A lot of my friends when we went to golf together, a lot of them went to St. Ray's, and then I ended up at Tolman. So that was one of those things where I kind of felt like I didn't fit in at Tolman at first because I didn't have friends. And basically the way the middle school system works in Pawtucket is the kids that go to Slater go to Shea. The kids that go to Jenks, they either go to Tolman or Shea. Golf kids, you go to Tolman.
Right.
So a lot of golf kids will go to Davies. They'll go to St. Ray's. A lot of parents will keep students out of Tolman, and just because of the environment, I guess. That's just how it is in the inner city. You know what I mean? And I had an option to go to Davies. My options in high school were Davies and Tolman, leaving middle school. I knew that I didn't want to go into a trade pretty early on. Like, even at 14, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. Building's cool, but it wasn't for me. And I just decided I had a couple friends that were at golf, going to Tolman. So I was like, all right, let's just try this out. And then, yeah. And basically where it starts is I played freshman football. So I was a 3-sport athlete in high school: baseball, football, and indoor track. I threw shot put and hammer and stuff like that during the winter. But my freshman football year, I remember we were in Division I. So we were getting our butts kicked by LaSalle, Hendricken, North Kingstown. We were getting the business. And it was a generational business. It was so bad that my freshman year, we were Division I. We went down to D3 my sophomore year. It was bad. We beat, and no disrespect to Hope High School, I respect everybody at Hope, but we beat Hope my first game in sophomore year, and we thought you would have thought we won a Super Bowl. It was that bad. But during that freshman season, we had a public address announcer for football, and growing up, I love WWE. So a lot of people will be able to hear my voice and be like, hey, maybe he could be a ring announcer or something. I think that's where I get a lot of my inspiration from. But then I naturally, as I grew older, the art of the sporting event. Obviously, I love sports, but hearing an announcer makes the whole venue that makes the experience. I that's what touched me. And I was like, maybe I can do that. But I was really inspired. I don't know why I'm blinking on his name's Massey. His last name's Massey. He's a Pawtucket guy. Really big. I emailed him right when I started doing PA, because I knew he actually went over to St. Ray's. So and left Tolman with no PA. But great opportunity for him. And then for me as a student, I went up to the athletic director, Frank La Liberty. I was like, hey, who does PA? He was like, well, it's just been me right now. So I'm like, cool. Can I try it? And he was like, why not? You know what I mean? Why not? One thing about the freshman football experience was during one of the varsity games, every time we got our butts kicked. The announcer, he would play Closing Time. I forgot what the artist is.
Semisonic.
Right.
I've heard it at too many bars in my lifetime. That's a song that could go away forever.
Right. I incorporate that song, not with getting our butts kicked, but just like the journey. Like if that's part of the soundtrack of like my announcing career, that's like song number one.
So
like,
if I close the show with Semisonic, would you get like PTSD right there?
no, I think I might just shed a tear. I don't know. I don't know. But that was like, that's where the juices were flowing. I was like, okay, like, hey, I want to do that. Mind you, that's football. And I think American football is one of the hardest sports to be a public address announcer for, because the attentiveness is just insane. At the high school level, there's a little bit more leniency, obviously. But at a higher level, it's hard. But yeah, so let's continue. Into Tolman, there was that turning point into sophomore year where I wanted to go to St. Ray's. At the end of the day, I didn't have the financial capabilities to do that. So I went on my Instagram, and this was going into junior year, so the summer 2019. I went on my Instagram, I put a poll up, and I said, hey, I want to create a sports account. Should I create a sports account? And the poll was, should it be like a all pro, like all sports account where I'd cover like New England teams, like, the Celtics and all them? Or do I cover the Tolman Tigers? Do I create a Tolman account? Nobody voted for the Tolman account. Nobody. But I wanted to do it. And that's why I put the poll out, just to see if there would be any validation on that. And there was a couple of people, probably my close people, that I was like, hey, this is a good idea. And they were like, yeah. But I did it anyways. So July 4th, 2019, I created this platform called TTN Sports, which stood for Tolman Tiger Network Sports, which like I was clearly trash at marketing at that point. But basically how it started was I said, okay, let me go back to the 2018-2019 school year, get all these pictures from Google, slap a post together on Instagram, and like write a recap. And then now going into junior year, let me cover every sport while playing football, baseball, and track, covering all the sports. It was a little hard. Some of my classmates were like, they saw the page growing and they were like, man, this is a basketball account. This is a football account. I was like, well, you got to give me some grace. But then I started announcing that same year. The first game I ever announced was a girls basketball game for, shout out Coach Bunk. He's my guy. Tolman girls basketball coach. They played Mount Pleasant. That was my first ever game on the microphone. And we had like a wireless mic. I don't even know how we could afford the wireless mic system, to be honest, but like shout out to Tolman. Frank La Liberty hands me the microphone. My palms were so sweaty. And it's one of those feelings where it wasn't normal. Like Tolman, like for somebody to embrace, like even in the building, like, how many classmates I've had where it's like, man, I don't like Tolman, I don't do that. Like, I'm like, it was the first time where like somebody was like embracing it. And like naturally people are going to clown that at first. So mind you, I was a likable person, but I wasn't the star of the show in high school. I wasn't the cool guy. I was just friends with all the cool guys. You know what I mean? And I was on the football team. So naturally that came with that. But I began to carve my own lane at that point. And it's a really long journey. Like after that, like I would go throw the shot put and then catch the bus back to do the second half of a girls basketball game, PAing. And I would always talk so fast. Even now, I kind of catch myself talking quick a lot. That's just naturally how I talk. But I was talking quick because, like, not because I was embarrassed or anything, but because it's you're 16 years old, your classmates are in the crowd, your friends are on the basketball court, and you're the voice. And like nobody could ever saw this coming. But it was just something different, and that's something that we've seen. And what was started off as laughs became consistency and became, oh, okay, I can respect that. Everything changes in the later parts. But if we want to stick to like what Pawtucket means and where does that movie start, it starts right in the why am I blinking on the gymnasium name? I've only announced it like 100 million times. Joe Mulaney, I'm thinking of PC. See, look, James W. Donaldson Gymnasium in Pawtucket. That's where the story begins.
It's funny you talk about the PA stuff, and like I even doing the show, and obviously I was the first year PA, but like it for me it's always been the reading in your mind and then slowing it down.
Yeah.
I remember the very first time I did the lineups and I blew through. I wasn't in a rush, but I was in such a focus to make sure we get the pronunciations right.
Mm-hmm.
And then the production engineer, the grand Puba of the guy that's controlling. I was like, you need to slow down a lot right now. I'm like, I didn't think I was going fast, right? So like I hear you loud and clear on the whole like there's so much subtlety that goes into it. And it sounds to me like I knew your story started at least with Providence College. It sounds like now this story started so much earlier, which is so exciting to learn. Are you surprised at the fact that you were able just to walk up and go, hey, like, do you need any help with this work? Like, is this a conduit? Should more schools be finding ways to make sporting broadcasting accessible to people that are at least interested? Because like I don't think I've heard a lot of people just be offered the microphone like you have been. I mean, I'm sure it happens across the country, but like that seems like the exception, not the norm. Do you think that there's any truth to that?
Yeah, I also think I can only speak for my story in the sense of the inner city. I think opportunities in general are this is how I feel about opportunities, like coming from the inner city. They exist. They're out there. Opportunities exist in the world. We just aren't exposed to it more in the inner city. We don't have those. We don't have heroes in the city still. They leave. You know what I mean? Or like in the sense of
like they make it and like they promote out of it.
Yeah, and then they end up like leaving. And like, how do I put this? Because obviously everybody's goal is to make it big. I think like in any environment. For me, like obviously I have a million goals, but what I always realized was there's ways to make impact now so that you're just a household name. And like if you have to leave, it's like respect, you know, like, but people don't show that love and pour that love. I think love's a big thing. A lot of Tolman students, Shea students, like you can any inner city, Providence, Mount Pleasant. There's just not a lot of resources. And unfortunately that leads to mindsets that aren't committed to a work ethic that is, let me do it myself. That you see that kind of later in like college. Like I see a lot of not late bloomers, but like people my age that are finally like, oh, okay, boom. And I love to see it. I just kind of saw it myself at an early age where it was like, obviously, you know, there's things that happen in your upbringing that make you who you are and make you who you are as an individual. So for me, like I was kind of betting on myself pretty early on. But I wasn't a confident person when I got handed the microphone. Like that, like who I am now, the drip, I guess you could say, like, I don't know, like the just the style that I have and like who I am and how I talk and how confident I am, that the microphone did that. And also it's the fans, it's the people. That's where it is. It has to be resources. It's funny you mentioned like, should there be more access? I guess I want to continue to just tell my story just a little bit in the sense of when I did graduate from Tolman, I was supposed to go to this college called St. Francis Brooklyn in New York. I committed there. I visited there and everything. I was having a rough 2021. That's when I graduated. It was like a rough year for me. I thought Brooklyn was the way out. It's the mecca of media in New York. So I was like, hey, like, let's go over there. A million connections. They got connects with the Nets, the Liberty, the Today Show, all these things. And I'm like, okay, like this is going to be a good thing. Another financial thing. But it became a blessing because when I couldn't go to St. Ray's, I had to turn nothing into something. When I couldn't go to Brooklyn, I had to go to CCRI. And I was going to Brooklyn like I was going. Like we were in August of senior year summer. Like everybody's still thinking I'm going to Brooklyn. And then like right before, it was hard because you got the expectations of going to the big city. And then you end up at CCRI. It's not pretty. It wasn't pretty. And it wasn't like I was ashamed of anything. It was just like, okay, these are the circumstances. These are the cards. How do you respond? And that's life. That's like truly where you get to like figure out, okay, like now what? So what, now what? That's like one of my big things. So I went back to Tolman instead of CCRI. I didn't look for opportunities within CCRI. I think I despised CCRI for a long time when I was there just because of my situation. But I went back into Tolman and I said, hey, I have this account that's still growing. The social media account. I was running the social media account for the sports. I was still being the announcer. I went back to the AD, 18 years old at this point. I had green hair, by the way. I can send you a photo of that. But like green hair.
That's the cover of the episode.
Yeah, I had green hair and like it was just long curls. I think what it was a Patriots player. I think Jalen somebody. He like had green hair. I was like, hey, that's cool. So I dyed my hair green. But I was also just going through it. So went back into Tolman. Hey, can I keep announcing? Can I keep running this page? Sure. Because at the end, like right before, you got to remember, I graduated in 2021. So
you're in the middle of COVID or the post end of COVID. Yeah.
Freshman, sophomore year, we're in person. My junior year of high school gets cut short in the middle for COVID 2020. We go back into the my senior year football got moved to the spring, so I didn't have that. Track was a little weird in the winter. Like I was able to perform that in January, but then I had to do football in March and then baseball in May right after that. It was like a ding, ding, ding. But I didn't get to go back into the building till like, I want to say April of my senior year. So I was outside of Tolman from March 2020 to April 2021. That was like a big thing for me. Like, I think a lot of students, like you see it now with the students coming up, they call them like COVID babies with the tablets and stuff like that. But like for folks like me, that's why online school works for me, because I had to like endure that.
That was your experience, your exposure.
You know? So that like we just kind of learned it as we went. I still am in online classes. Like I think that just works better for me. Like obviously I would kind of want to learn from a teacher, but it's the nuance of like just getting work done and feeling accomplished after. But where I'm going with that is that's where like the impact was. Like that year was very heavy. So I stay in the building. I'm literally like my college advisor, my senior year. He's like a big brother to me now. Shout out Seth. He's like one of my guys, and he was still the college advisor the next year after that. So I would, go in and meet with him and talk logistics about like, where I think everything's going. And he mentioned to me once, he said, why don't you create like a media club here at the school? Like all the administration loved me over there. Tolman, I'm like their like golden child. Shout out to the Tigers. But they loved me over there. And I realized that I had a sense of community over there. Like in that time I needed community bad. And I just kind of looked into, people that were over there. Obviously there was like, juniors. When I was a senior, some of them are like my best friends now because I started covering their games. So I was hopping on buses to take pictures at girls tennis games, girls volleyball games. I was going like a different game each day, and then also doing the big football game at Friday night, doing the basketball games. And that's where everything started. But as far as the resources in the inner city and where the community, I started a media club, and I did that for 2 years when I was running an after school club at 19 and 20 years old. Like, and I had students, like, it was just so crazy. Like one of them was my best friends, like a year younger than me, but it was just like the crazy experience. But I actually had lesson plans and like just teaching these kids about social media and like what you can be exposed to. And like now, like these kids are doing like awesome things, like not in media, but it gave them a different option.
Exposure.
It's somebody that is around their age. This is before I even got hired with PC too. So that was like, I earned trust within. You got to earn trust within the community before
Absolutely.
you can like, if you're nobody in your city, how can you get to another level? You got to start like at ground zero. That's what I always tell people. Oh, how do you do what you do? Start at your local high school. Like for real. Because that's the only way I know how to do.
I just got into an argument with a fan online about not talking about the recent preseason result, which we have sources that we've built up. We have relationships we built with the club and outside the club. So we know a lot of details that we don't go into.
Yeah.
And like, well, why are you gatekeeping? Why aren't you sharing? And it's like, we have a responsibility to build the trust with the community. And first, sometimes it's the actors, it's the players. And then the next part, it's with the fans. And if we betray one side of that trust to the other, it's inauthentic and you lose all of your credibility. And then you're just a dime a dozen person. So I completely respect that. I want to ask then, talking about the resources, talking about, what Pawtucket has done for you. I think I want to ask, looking at the club itself, moving into Rhode Island FC and how it becomes this, crown jewel, at least as an entertainment product, and potentially more along all of that Seekonk River district and waterfront area, right? How important was it for you as a born and bred Pawtucket guy to have the soccer stadium not land anywhere else in Rhode Island, right? It's not in downtown Providence. It's not in Cranston. It's not by the airport. It's not in Narragansett. It is in Pawtucket. How important was that for you as a Pawtucket guy yourself, and then macro it out to the whole state as a whole? What has that been like for you, knowing that there's been this level of investment in the city of Pawtucket?
Yeah, major. Like I grew up at the Paw Sox games. My dad always taking me to Paw Sox games. I was 16 years old at Paw Sox games collecting baseballs. Like, I'm a true fan of sports in this city.
Have you been to the Woo Sox?
I have not.
Are you going to keep it that way?
Absolutely.
Good man. Good man.
You know what I mean?
I was talking to someone the other day, and like Woo, I guess in Chinese means dirty. So apparently it's the Dirty Sox.
Hey.
Anyways, back to Pawtucket.
Right. Like, that was such a staple. Like, Paw Sox winning Governor's Cup championships, I'm buying the t-shirt. Paw Sox coming out with like Osos Polares hats, I'm buying the hats. Hot Wiener hats, I'm buying the hats. The Woo's trying to do that. It started here.
I don't know why they think they're entitled to do that. Like,
it's our wieners.
Rhode Island FC needs to get on. If there was one piece of merch they are missing, it's a hot wiener themed night. Hey, didn't see it this year. They need to get on that
for sure. It's classic. But that was my childhood. Like growing up on the left field burn with my classmates when we're like 5 years old to 13. Watching fireworks nights on the 3-game weekends that they'd have. Like I used to live on Ashburn Street behind the stadium. I used to hear the PA announcer while I'm outside shooting hoops. Like that was just a part of Pawtucket's identity. And I think part of the Paw Sox leaving was one of those things where the Paw Sox were appreciated when they were here. Obviously they weren't selling out all the time. And I think you see a lot of love come through once they start leaving. It's like, I was at those games in late 2019. They weren't packed, So it's when they left, people started to recognize that, oh, this is part of our identity. Oh, this is gone now. So when you see an empty McCoy Stadium, it was brutal because like that's just your parents have memories of Paw Sox. Like this is a generational thing at this point. I'm pretty young when it comes to the world. I'm here. I'm 23 a week from today. But
happy early birthday.
Thank you. But that was like my whole childhood. So when that got stripped, it was like, dang, we don't got something to do just to go catch a game. Obviously, the Paw Sox played a lot more frequently than what we have at Rhode Island FC. But right when they left, obviously the immediate talks were like, okay, we're gonna bring a baseball team here. Then it became like, oh, we're gonna do Apex and all this stuff. And then I'm like, just bring something. You know what I mean? Just bring something. And at that point, obviously, I'm 18, 19. I'm dealing with my own stuff. I'm not thinking about being the voice of it. But when they talk about a soccer team, I'm like, okay, like I'll be like up front, like soccer. I grew up watching the World Cup a little bit, but soccer was never like my number one favorite sport or anything like that.
Do we need to ask team, league, or favorite players? Like this is your whole identity. You're going to cast right here.
Yeah. So I've been on record for being an Arsenal fan like the last 5 years.
Oh, you must be freaking out right now. I'm a City fan, by the way. So
yeah,
this is gonna go great for the rest of the
show. It's like the definition of coming up short is Arsenal, but unfortunately, but it is what it is. But I was never like a big soccer fan. I'm Portuguese, Cape Verdean, and French Canadian. That's like my ethnicity. So obviously I'm a big Ronaldo fan. That's my goat. I know everybody's Messi's their goat, but Ronaldo's my goat.
Are you excited about the House of Portugal for FIFA?
I am.
I
saw
sick.
that. It did look awesome. I was talking to Mike D about that actually. We were all chatting about that. It looked cool. But like I played it when I was 6, 7, and 8 years old. I played soccer. I won the championship when I was 8, and then I stopped playing after that. So I went out on top.
Yeah.
I went out on top, but then I played baseball. While I was playing baseball, that was my number one sport. Then football became my number one in high school. But I left soccer pretty early on. When I started announcing sports, I did Tolman and Shea high school soccer games. And I'm like sitting there like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Like I was literally watching these games like I do not know what's going on. Not one bit. And I think that's the magic of but that's the thing about Rhode Island FC. You don't have to love soccer to go enjoy or be a part of the brand that's being built, the environment that's being built. I like to call what we do over there like a family fun atmosphere. But when I heard the Paw Sox were leaving, I was a big believer in it because at the end of the day, like there's a need, and when there's a need, there's a need to be filled, and it's gonna exist. People hating on it, it's like the Paw Sox left. You know what I mean? It's time to move on. It's time to get doing. But the reason why it was important for me because it was staying in Pawtucket. I was a Pawtucket kid. You want sports, and what I liked the most about it was they didn't knock down McCoy and put the stadium there. They didn't knock down Apex and put the stadium there, which off the highway, I don't think that would have made. I mean, we're still off the highway technically, but there is like right off the highway. You know what I mean? They put it on what we call the west side of the city, near Shea, and in Pawtucket in general, like there's always like a notion that it's like at least these last 20 years, there's like a West Side Story notion. And I'm like, man, it doesn't exist anymore. Let's just say that. But when it comes to that part of the city, like the Darlington area of Pawtucket is the more celebrated one. It's like, oh, that's where like everything is calm and cool and like, sure. But there's a lot of life on the west side of Pawtucket, on the other side of the bridge, that didn't get that spotlight. So when I figured out that they were like, when I heard that they were moving the stadium there, I was like, good. Because this side of the city is already cool. They've had the Paw Sox, but now this side of the city, you get to be the main focus of attention going forward. I'm a big advocate for One Pawtucket. That TTN Sports account became One Pawtucket, which is now basically, I'll put it like this. Actually, we'll get to that later. To answer your question about Pawtucket, it meant something to me because it's just love. Pawtucket is my heart. Like that's where I'm from. That's who I am today. And it didn't need to be anywhere else in Rhode Island. I feel like Providence has its own market. I think Pawtucket is such a gem in the city and people need to experience it more. And I think it's so cool that people from all over Rhode Island are coming to Pawtucket to gather here. And that's what's cool about it. When I'm up in the booth, it's like, yes, the Rhode Island community is here, but like there's somebody listening to my voice that wants to do what I do soon, you know? And like that's why I think it needed to stay in Pawtucket.
No, I love that. And you know, I've gone around to the local restaurants, both the new and the ones that were kind of feel like they were hanging on until the stadium had been, you know, brought online. And it's been such a boon for them. And, you know, their complaint has been, I wish there were more games, you know, back to the Paw Sox playing, you know, 6 times a week at times.
Right.
I'm really excited to see what happens for the rest of the development plans that they have and just how that can continue to reinvigorate the area. Because like I was at News Cafe last Friday night partying, and like it feels different now than compared to like 2019 before there was a shovel ever in the ground. So it's exciting to see. Before we move into your illustrious career, I want to ask one last question looking back. When you were introduced, you know, you were 1/3 of it with Mike D and Flanny, and Flanny has been on record, and he calls himself and you guys all bucket boys. And so I want to ask on the record, what makes a bucket boy and what does not make a bucket boy, so that we can split hairs here on what exactly that means.
Yeah. So people always ask, how can I be one of the bucket boys? I'm like, well, you're already like, we're called the bucket boys because we all are from Pawtucket. Mike D spent most of his time growing up in Pawtucket. Flandy's a Pawtucket guy. He's a Shea alum. I'm a Tolman alum. So that's like the cool part about that. What makes a bucket boy? I don't know. Well, obviously there's being from Pawtucket, but then we also say there's honorary bucket boys.
Yeah, like how do I get on the honorary bucket boy
for
list?
Sure. Like, I mean, you're kind of, I'm not gonna lie, man. I might co-sign you right now. You're an honorary bucket boy. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's go.
Only because it's show love. That's what it is. Show love to the community, like also the team, but also like spread love into the community too, because we need more people to speak life in Pawtucket, you know, like, and not there's way too many like Twitter fingers and Facebook fingers about Pawtucket. We need more people to speak life and like speak like positive, because nothing positive ever happened with a negative mindset, you know? And like, that's the thing about being a bucket boy. It's pride, but it's also a little bit of flavor and some sauce too. You know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing. Like,
what's the Pawtucket flavor?
The Pawtucket flavor.
If I'm making wings right now, what's the Pawtucket?
It's not
flavor?
like a lemon pepper. It's like a. It might be spicy. It might be a jerk chicken. I don't know. Like that's kind of like that's how I like it, at least. Shout out to like D Spot and all those like local chicken spots.
Heck yeah.
But like it comes with a little bit of sauce, and that's the thing about people when people meet me. Like, you hear my voice, and I'm like, when I announce, I just change my voice. If you just have a conversation with me, like, I'm really just somebody from Pawtucket. Like, it doesn't come with an accent. It's just, this is my environment. This is like how we grow up. You know, it's inner city, but at the same time, it's just like really authentic to who I am. But being a bucket boy, you got to have a little jerk chicken sauce with you. You got to have the flavor, but you also got to have love. At the end of the day, it's all about love.
I think there's an opportunity for a new food vendor stand, like a Flames coming over from their Providence side and getting some Pawtucket origins here inside Centerville Bank Stadium. Getting back into your PA stuff. So you said we were going to put it on pause. Let's bring it back to the forefront now. Yeah. You go from the high school alumni status into PC. How did you bridge that gap? Because I feel like, you know, if your high school set the table. PC kind of put the spotlight on you. How did that all come to be, and how rewarding has that been, differentiating from the RIFC exposure?
Yeah, and that's really where the story begins. Like, well, the story begins in Tolman, obviously, but the story, it gets put. We get a little spotlight on the story now when it comes to PC. All right, so I'll set the stage. Tolman High School had a boys basketball head coaching change going into the 2022-2023 school year. It was head coach Mike Neal. He was an assistant coach at Shea High School, goes over to Tolman. And I was still the announcer. I was 20 years old. And one of the players, Isaiah Goyce, my guy, he did graphics for the account for Tolman basketball. So like, it was a student ran initiative, like this social media stuff, but we were producing graphics at an all-time level. Like we were making better graphics than Hendy and LaSalle, and that was our flex. Was the product on the court great at that season? No, but it was a culture that was being built. But Mike brought a little bit of that sauce. He brought a little bit of the sauce, and it was the first black head coach at Tolman. Yeah, like first black head coach for Tolman boys basketball, and it's just a different energy shift. There was a more relatable person in the building and in the locker room that like nurtured and cared for these students and these players. But we all became a family. We still have a fantasy basketball group chat to this day, like people in the community and like ex-players and stuff like that. I'm 4th place, by the way. Hopefully we get a championship. But he's a big UConn Huskies fan. But that ended up working in my favor.
That you said that out loud.
He's a big UConn Huskies fan, and I'm pretty sure he's proud of that too. Which, I mean,
no one's perfect,
right? He was scrolling through Twitter, and I didn't know what Big East Twitter was before, like obviously working at PC. Big East Twitter is often a toxic place, but it's also somewhere where you just get the latest news. PC, they had an in-arena host named John Hope, Harry Grigsby, Providence legend, one of my OGs. I believe he emceed there for like 16 seasons. So Cooley era, like prime, like good. But he built that. He was a local Providence kid that started emceeing probably when he was in his early 20s and stepped down in his mid 30s. Like he saw it grow. He steps down. PC's like, okay, we need another in-arena host for men's basketball. I'm like, well, I didn't. All right, this is where the story gets good. Mike Neal sees the tweet on Twitter. I'm the PA announcer at Tolman. And he shares it to me. He said, you got to get on this. I'm looking at it. I was like, in-arena host, like, what is that? And he was like, I don't know, but it looks like a good opportunity. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm like, you think I get it? Like, because at this point, the Providence Friars are also, in my heart, up there with the Paw Sox as far as the branding. I always went to the Dunk. Obviously, it's the Amp now, but when I was a kid, it was the Dunk. Probably for older people, it was the.
It'll be the Dunk again in like 5 more years. Don't worry.
You just grow up seeing that logo, and like for me, Chris Dunn was one of my favorite Friars ever. Like I was probably 15 for that, so like I grew a love for Providence Friars. That's like Providence Friars men's basketball is like our pro basketball team here in Rhode Island. Obviously, we don't have an NBA team or anything like that, but that's our
right.
So when you see that logo and you're a Tolman high school announcer, not only are you just I don't want to say just, but not only are you a high school announcer, but you are what the Rhode Islanders perceive as at a lower tier high school too. Like I'm not a Hendy announcer.
You're not punching at the weight of others, right?
You know what I mean? But that's always what set me apart. And so I seen it on Twitter. He sends me it. I apply. I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna get this, but I'm gonna apply. So I apply. I hear back. They're like, cool. Send us a live audition. So, not a live audition, but send us a recorded audition. Here's the script. And that was the first time I ever got exposed to a script, because at Tolman, I never had a script.
You were just going off the cuff?
Yeah. I was PAing on some basketball without a script. And like I never knew what ad reads were, and like I never knew what partners.
We're gonna get into a very specific ad read here in
right.
just a second. I think you know where we're going.
For sure. I never knew what any of that was. So I'm looking at this stuff like it's like Braille. I'm like, wow, like this is crazy. But
can we just time out real fast on ad reads? the most annoying thing about ad reads is, beyond the fact that you're contractually obligated to say it, is that what people don't know about script reading is that they write it out phonetically, and it's not how you would read a book, a magazine, or the newspaper. And so like you're seeing like letters and dashes to do different pronunciations.
Yeah,
ad reads can be the most frustrating thing in the world, and you only get one shot at it. They're not pre-recorded. You're doing this in front of thousands of people.
We're live.
I didn't realize I would hate ad reads as much as I once would. I hate it now, even just doing the show that we do here.
Yeah.
You're telling me you had to do a script. Did you get to practice this script live? Like, you must have practiced it, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
So when I say live, they wanted to record, like, I think they just wanted
the one and done it.
I think they just wanted an audio file, to be honest, like just emailed back. But I was running. All right. So it's late school year, 2023. I'm still running media club. It was the last media club meeting of the year. I looked at the students. I said, we got a big opportunity. I got a big opportunity and I need your help. Literally, I got it's in my phone somewhere. Isaiah Goyce, I can't speak too much. Like I speak so much life into him because he's been with me in the journey. Like everything you see on my Instagram, as far as like just like video, like he's been there. It's even since he was a student. So shout out him. I just want to make sure he's getting his flowers because he was recording. The media club kids were in the gym, and basically what they wanted me to do was like Centerville skee ball, which is funny because Centerville Bank Stadium.
Right. Yeah.
But the thing was Centerville skee ball, and it was like one of those things like half court, contests. And I had to do a read, for that, like doing a half court contest. So we went into the Tolman gym. I had plugged the speaker in. I played the Friars like fight song. Dun, 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 dun. I played that. And I had it blaring, and then I had the students in the bleachers making noise as if they were the crowd.
That's hilarious.
I was on the microphone,
fully immersed.
Yeah, I was in the microphone. I was 20. Yeah, so I was on the microphone doing that. Isaiah's recording. I have one of the young bulls, John Hilaire, roll the ball, and like we made like a video edit of it, and like I did an intro and outro outside the steps of Tolman. I had my Keith Harrington jacket on that I don't have on right now. We're leather today, but I had my Keith Harrington jacket on, and like. I remember my hair, it was a bad hair day too. So I don't like, sometimes I look back and I'm like, bad hair day, but whatever. It's the style and it's the confidence. I think that's more than anything, but send it in. And I'm like, okay, not getting this, but like, cool. Like here's me.
JuJu, you just to tee this up, anyone else that applied for this job was playing checkers and you were playing 4D chess with the amount of production effort you went into this audition.
For sure. And like, that was the funny thing about it. Like, then there was a lot of steps with Providence. It was like, okay, like now we want to bring you in for an interview, like in person. I was like, okay, cool. I love interviews because I love talking. Clearly,
I've never noticed.
I'm a yapper. I like to say I'm a yapper. But I love interviews, so I was like, okay, cool. It's gonna be every job interview I've done in my life, whether that was working at Expressions, shoe store, like whatever.
Shout out Expression.
Right. It's one-on-one. I'm right in front of you.
I go in for one pair of shoes. I got like 5.
Right.
Yeah.
But those interviews are always like, all right, one-on-one, cool. I walk in there. There's like into the facilities now, obviously. Like I remember I pulled up there and I get there. And one of my buddies from high school, not from high school, he went to Saints and I played football against him. He was a PC cheerleader. He's at the front desk. He's like, what are you doing here? Because like at this point, we're all juniors in high school technically. But I had dropped out of CC at that point because I saw the opportunity with PC. I was like, okay, let me just figure out if this is what I want to do in sports. So I seen him at the desk. I said, I have an interview today. He was like, oh, for real? I was like, yeah. He's like, all right, I'll bring you up there. I get up there, and then they were interviewing one person. They bring the person out to audition. Well, not audition, but they bring her out of an interview. And then I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'm just kind of expecting to be in front of one person. Nope. We get into that room. It's like a big conference table of like everybody that's important over there. It's like 8 people, and I am shook. I didn't think I needed to bring a resume. I didn't bring anything. I brought my vibes. I brought me. And I was like panicking. Like in my head, I was like panicking. I was like, oh wow, this is like serious. So the first question is like, just tell us just tell us about you. And that's the best thing I'm able to do. So like that was easy. Like that's a T for me. But it was crazy because I thought I was fumbling. I was talking fast. I was nervous. And what I learned in that moment was to control a room. And that kind of helps me control a crowd. Because what I thought in that interview process was like, okay, there's 8 of them here. If I have questions and I ask them and I want all of them to answer, that buys me more time to figure out, like, to calm down. And it also showed that I was intentional. I think the interview went well. I pulled up with the Keith Harrington swag, and I had these flip shades. If people go on my Instagram and you see a picture of me with flip glasses, that was what I wore the first 2 seasons with PC. That was like my niche. I always like to like stand out. Today it's the aqua like cheetah print glasses. They're blue light, by the way. I don't actually need these. But
giving the secrets away.
Right. I don't buy it. I'm an open book sometimes. But cool. They're like, all right, we have a live audition for you now. I'm like, oh. Like, I thought the interview I was just gonna be able to be hired and we'd be cool, but nope. Women's volleyball game. And basically the whole process was for men's basketball, but they were looking to incorporate in-arena hosting with women's basketball and men's hockey.
Plug and play wherever it was needed.
So I kind of had a feeling like, okay, I think they didn't tell me how many people I was going up against, but they were like, we have multiple like roles going on. So I was like, okay, like I felt pretty confident if I'm in the building right now that like I have some sauce. So we get to the live audition and the other contestants are there. Like the other people applying are there. There was this one girl and then there was Flanny. So going into it, I was telling my OGs in the city, I was like, yeah, like, you know, I got this audition. They were like, oh, we think you're going up against Flanny. I was like, who's Flanny? And then they were like, oh, like that's our guy.
Don't worry about that guy. He's old and busted.
They're like, oh, that's our guy. And I was like, oh, okay. And like for me, like I'm always like very confident in like who I am, but I knew going into it that Flanny was from Pawtucket. They told me, oh, Flanny's a Pawtucket guy though. Like he's a really good public speaker. I was like, oh, okay. So I was like, I kind of knew what I was going up against, but I remember I went in there and I kind of looked at Flanny. I was like, hey, if I don't get it, I want you to get it. Like we're all in this together. That's kind of how it felt. That was like the Pawtucket moment. But it ended up working out for everybody. Flanny ends up getting hired with men's basketball, and then they offer me men's hockey, which they've won a national championship. It's a good program, number 7 in the nation right now. And I remember the first time I was on live cam with them, I was nervous because now it's a new audience. This isn't Pawtucket. This is a hockey audience. And how do I put this? Like I have a very, you could tell I have a way about myself, and like that I don't think it like relates to hockey, but it relates to people. And I think that's all that really matters in sports is if you can just relate to people, then people will love you and they'll like you. So I had to like earn the trust of that crowd and earn the right to put my swag in a place like PC. Not saying PC doesn't have swag. PC has its own swag, but I have the sauce. I bring a different. We bring the jerk chicken sauce. You know, I don't know. Like it was incredible over there because that's where it started. The person that was going, the third person ended up not taking the opportunity. So I asked them, I said, hey, can I do women's basketball? And they were like, yeah.
You just volunteered for it.
Yeah. I was like, hey, can I just do that then too? Like, I'll just do both. I want to grow. They're like, yeah. So since then, I'm currently now in my 3rd season, MC in-arena hosting, Schneider Arena men's hockey, and Joe Mulaney Gymnasium inside Alumni Hall for PC women's basketball. Shout out Coach Bath. Shout out Coach Lehman. Shout out everybody over there. Shout out all my PC people because like but that's what Providence College did for me. It just it didn't put me on the map, but it kind of put me on the map a little bit.
It put you on the map. Don't be that humble.
I like to be sometimes. But people in the city, like that was the big thing. Pawtucket, they saw that, they were like, oh, hold on now, you know, like that's our guy, you know, like that's our guy. And I was like, oh, like this is like big. And I was hired at 20, you know, like that's like, I don't want to say unheard of, but like a lot of people look at younger people and it's like, nah, we don't know if he's serious.
He doesn't have the experience. He won't stick this. It's too many weekends. Life's gonna get in the way.
Yeah. Haven't missed a game. You know what I mean?
And like, you know, I mean, and kind of that's a perfect transition into talking about like what a PA or anyone in sports for that matter that's not the player and is not the coaching staff. A lot of people don't realize that you give up every single weekend, a majority of the season for something, whether it's on-field production, off-field production. There's a lot of dedication that goes into it. And, you know, I think a PA is a little bit more blessed because they get to enjoy the game. Others are in weird areas of the stadium that they don't get to see and enjoy it. But there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into becoming someone within the sports broadcasting space. Want to ask you, one, this isn't your whole identity though, right? Like being a PA, being a public address announcer, is you have other facets to you, because unless this is paying your bills 100% of the time, which I remember those checks. I'm sure, I hope you're getting more than I got, but like, I don't think that combined with PC could pay it all. Like there's more to it for you. How do you balance that with like your daily responsibilities and then your responsibilities behind the microphone?
Yeah. It's a grind. I remember being 20 and like having those sports jobs and not wanting to like work. My dad was like, "Hey, you got to get a job," and I was like, "Hey, like, you know, I'm building something here. I'm working towards it." But now, like, I get it now. You know, I mean, it's only been a couple of years, but I understand you got to you got to be able to put a roof over your head and do all those fun things. But honestly, announcing kind of led into a lot of like the day work that I do, just me as a personality and like who I am. So there's obviously a lot of sacrifice but I do a lot of like impactful work, like in a sense of like impacting others. This past year and a half, I was I worked at the mayor's office in City Hall, and that was a unique experience because I never really like understood public spaces like that. But it inspired me to dress nicer. It inspired me to like even challenge myself to bring my energy into a building like that, which is normally like always serious for sure. But there's what it taught me about myself is like, okay, like even in the most serious of places, there people still need to smile, you know? And that was like a teachable moment, but we were doing a lot of community work. I was essentially assisting with this initiative called the 52 and 52 initiative, where we did a small business highlight every week of the year in 2025. So from January to December, we just wrapped up. I just left the mayor's office. Like I don't work there anymore, but that's where I was for the last year. And before that, before I was at the mayor's office, I remember I was working at the PC bookstore. I was considering applying to Wendy's, and then shout out my OG Chachi Carvalho, really like inspiring person in the city. He was like, "Hey, got an opportunity for you to do some like front desk work with the city here in the mayor's office." And that transitioned into like a social media role, and then just like kind of an ambassadoring role, which leads me into my now job, which I do. I work as a social media brand ambassador for Skills for Rhode Island's Future. It's a nonprofit org based out of Providence. But essentially, we have a main program called Prepare RI, which is an internship program for high school juniors all throughout the state of Rhode Island, within like charter and public schools, where it gives them an internship going into their senior year. But it's like the connects they have are like corporate, like banks, stuff like that, like real good internships, real good experience. And the work that we do now is we're going into Mount Pleasant, we're going into Shea, we're going into Tome, we're going to obviously like Cranston West and all those other schools too.
You're putting back in what you were able to get out of those opportunities,
right? Like they scooped me up. They saw who I was, and they were like, "Hey, like we think you can like really be a good asset here." So that's what I do during the day. Really just a lot of recruitment and like just being me. Like I don't look at a lot of the blessing that I have right now is I ended up going back into school last spring. So I'm set to finish with my associates on May 12th this year. Then we'll be transferring out. Not sure where yet, but the blessing that I've been able to have is a lot of the work that I do. It's just show up and be you. Obviously, there's a time and a place, and like people who see me in public, I'm normally serious, but like once I get to conversating, like I wanna make people smile. I want to read people. I want to like talk to people. That's just who I am. But I don't look at a lot of things I do as work, and I think that's a blessing. And I think like at the end of the day, when you lay your head on the pillow, you know, you can smile about that because there's people that actually do real like labor work. Like my dad, he's a hard worker. Like my mom, she's a hard worker. My family, they're hard. Like these people do like actual work. Like not to say that those aren't jobs, but like you can't I can't help but not be recognized how like grateful I am to God, like how blessed I am just to like exist in my space and like not give him all the glory. Like what God's done for me in my life is just, it's crazy. Like just who I am, because on my dad's side, there's a lot of like a family of pastors on my dad's side. And my uncle always tells me like, hey, like you have a voice, you know? And like, for me, like part of that is always, you know, sharing God's word, but also just being present in communities and being myself. And like morally, I feel good about that. So yeah, like it's a lot of time consuming, but you surround yourself with the right people in your life, everything will be good. Like I have amazing friends.
So to that end, as the voice of Rhode Island FC, what goes into the job? Because it's not, and I really cannot stress this enough, it's not you just showing up 10 minutes before kickoff and starting to read scripts, right? There's so much more that goes into that. What goes into, if you had to sweep a general description of all the things that you do, large and small, what goes into putting in the work as the public address announcer for Rhode Island FC?
Yeah. So last year was a year of learning. A year of learning. Like obviously the process and when I got hired and things of that nature. I got hired like a couple weeks before. So it's kind of like trial by fire in a sense. Like I can confidently say that I know I have a good voice, like announcing wise. Like I've never.
Do you want to give a little tease of it because you haven't switched into that mode? Do you want to give the listeners like, oh, that there he is,
or your Rhode Island FC? Like it's crazy, but like I know I have a good voice. But just be like, and this is the thing about announcing, you can have a good voice, but if you don't know the game, that doesn't work in your favor. If you know the game and don't have a good voice, well, then, like it's got to be the perfect blend of knowing the game and also sounding great. You can kind of get away with it sometimes if you have a great voice and you can learn as you go. And I feel like that's kind of what I did this past year. Because I'm used to doing starting intros for basketball, not soccer. Even at like the Tolman and Shea games, like that's the thing. Like I was a Tolman and Shea PA announcer for everything. So the only other soccer experience I had was high school. So going right up to the big leagues, like in the USL, like I was like, oh, cool. But there was a lot of preparation and a lot of pressure with that first game, in the sense of like wanting to like make a good statement. And it's a new stadium, it's a new vibe. That I almost did like kind of like got lost in the sauce a little bit. Not my sauce, but like the sauce.
Not the curly jerk sauce, right?
You know what I mean? Like I think it was like, okay, let's just get through this game. And then we have a game next week. And wait, no, by the way, you got to play the Revs next week. And I'm just like, wait, what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like I knew the schedule, but it's like, we had a quick turnaround. And I had to learn a lot. I downloaded FIFA right when I got hired because I learned through like playing the game, I guess.
Kinetic learning, yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I had to download FIFA and I was listening. I turned my TV up. I was playing as Cristiano Ronaldo. And I was just kind of like, okay, like, whenever I was offsides, I was like, okay, cool, that's offsides. You know what I mean? Like I knew those things, obviously, but I remember my biggest insecurity when I got hired, I guess, was like my goal call, because I was on TikTok. I love TikTok. Anytime I need inspiration, I go to TikTok. I looked up on TikTok. I was like, okay, goal calls. But I'm hearing all these European type calls. Go. I'm like, oh, what is that? I don't think I could do that confidently. And they were like, oh, we want to hear your go call. I was like, all right, cool. So I just ripped it off. And it was like, all right. It's very loud and it like makes you feel something, I guess. Like, now it's just like, I think when you have a thing, don't change it. Like it's just, that is what it is. And like, if you feel love it and you're confident with it, like that's just be what it is. Your goal call is going to be different than mine. Every announcer is going to have a different goal call. But that was like the biggest thing at first. And then going into that first game, it just feels like such a blur. I remember looking out the press box and like just seeing all these people. And the thing I noticed the most, and I had said this in the Bucket Boys video, was the merchandise. There was a lot of merchandise, and that stood out to me more than the people, because people were like literally and figuratively buying in. You know what I mean? Like buying an Amber hat, buying a kit. My friends, oh, I need that. Oh, I need this. Da, 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 da. Oh, my friends, oh, can I get one with the voice on the back? I'm like, yo, like it's crazy. Like I'm like that. That's when you see it, and you've been there since day one, so like your perspective is a little, you know what I mean, like different, because the inaugural season at Bryant, I went to the Detroit game. I think they lost 2-0 that night, and then I went to Fan Appreciation Night where they like tore up Miami.
Goals galore,
right? Yeah, they were like. And I was there to film the Flanny short film because
I remember that, the documentary.
Yeah. So I filmed that and I was there that night, and I turned around, I was like, they were scoring a lot. I texted the person that I went to the game with. I was like, hey, they scored like 8 goals tonight, because the night we went, they didn't score. But it was like interesting to see that Bryant, but like the stadium just like a whole different feeling, obviously. But just the preparation of that was awesome. Like I learned throughout the season pronunciations. Like, it was crazy. I remember the first time I think we got Mabika like some point like.
Oh, he was Ame,
yeah,
but
Ame, yeah.
For the first like 2 months, everyone was calling him Ame.
Yeah, and he never said anything. Like, I guess like one day he was just like, "Oh, like that's like not." He told somebody like that's not like how it said, but like he didn't say anything for a while. I guess he didn't like care that much.
He casually called us out on the show and we interviewed him. I'm like, so Ame, he's like, hey, you know what? Can we just start this off on the right foot? It's Ame, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, and I'm saying it at the mic. They're like coming to me. They're like, hey, it's actually Ame. I'm like, oh, cool. So now like in my pronunciation, it's bracket UHMAY. That's how I literally put it in my thing because I'm like, okay, we got to get this right. But that like getting the roster sheets and Koke, like at first I didn't know Koke. Like I saw this random name because Koke's first name, like his government is different. So I'm like,
hey, Ochoa.
Yeah. I was like, who is? They were like, oh, that's just Koke. I was like, oh, okay, all right, cool. But I think throughout the season, if people like actually paid attention and listened throughout the season, I think people were able to see my confidence. Game by game by game. I think the thing that I would love, even going forward, like to work on is like doing more studying of opposing teams and like understanding like who's the guy and like, you know, like there's pronunciations and then there's like, you know, sometimes players like it's a little bit harder in the USL because like sometimes you go to a player's account and like maybe they don't have a video of an announcer saying their name, you know?
Right.
So like those nuances of maybe there isn't an audio sample, you know? I think what the great thing with Rhode FC is they gave me, you know, recordings of how the players saying their names, which is the best way. Absolutely. Any organization out there, that is how you do it. The paper's cool, but like proper studying, I think that's like awesome. So Rhode FC, they set me up in the driver's seat for that. So that was awesome.
I went when I was doing it, they had there was one team that didn't give any pronunciation like cheat sheet or like any breakdown. They didn't send that file, and they had 6 new players that were all like youth academy, and so they didn't have any tape, and their names were impossible. Yeah. And it was the most embarrassing feeling to know, like, I'm probably going to say one of these wrong, and like I just have to live with that shame forever. So pronunciation is the toughest. I want to ask you then, from all the away teams, what was the most difficult name that comes immediately to memory? And even if you butcher it now, no harm, no foul. I distinctly remember my first and continues to be the pain of my existence. Do you have a name that, even if you just want to say like the team, what was that player who like every time you see him on there, you just dread that he's going to be in the starting or he's going to get substituted?
Sometimes it'd be like guys that came off the bench. Surprisingly enough, I was struggling at first with Anthony Siaha, I think,
you
from
can
Hartford.
Continue to struggle with that name,
and obviously he's like our biggest op, but like that was like, I remember just looking at his last name and I was like I didn't know, you know what I mean? And like I remember having to listen to broadcast, and luckily broadcast is right next to me, so I'm kind of hearing them sometimes. And I'm like, oh, okay, like I see that pronunciation. But even his first name, like sometimes it's like Anthony or Anthony, you know what I mean? Like it's those little nuances. I think other teams, like that was like a guy that like really stood out to me as far as like a name, only because like there's understanding how to say it, but then understanding how to say it live and in a flow and confident. Because even when I mess up, I know when I mess up. You know, as an announcer, you know when you mess up. But the goal is to
let the audience
let them know you messed up, and that's based off tone, cadence, and confidence in how you say it. Because if I say it wrong, they're not gonna notice. But if I'm like Antonisia, and then they're gonna be like, oh, he butchered that. You know what I mean? Like that's how it is. The biggest pronunciation thing that wasn't a player, which was kind of funny amongst like this, like everybody involved in Rhode FC, was Modelo Especial. The read we had for that, I did not know how to pronounce that at all. I was saying especial like the whole time. Like there was like a couple of games where I'm like, they're like, it's especial. I'm like, oh. They're like, yeah, well, you're a 22-year-old PA announcer, so like we get it. I didn't even know it was a liquor. You know what I mean? So like I was just doing this reading, and I was like, wait, hold on. But I didn't know how to pronounce that for the longest time. But now it's like, okay, we get it now.
I'm gonna throw this one up on the screen. So on your side over there, I'm gonna ask you to give a shot at this one because this one was the hardest one that I ever had to deal with. Let me know when you see it.
There's I think this one shut off.
Oh, it's already okay. Well then, never mind. Okay. Don't actually hold on. Let's see if I can turn the monitor here. We're gonna mess with the studio here. Let me see if I can get this.
Move this
real quick.
Yep. Okay, cool.
What do you got for that?
So the way I would break this down is like, obviously, so it depends on where he's from, because this could be Tomas, but I'm gonna go with Tomas. Actually, Tomas is usually Tomas.
It's definitely Thomas. It's definitely
okay,
Thomas.
Thomas. All right, so Thomas. I look at that I, like the spelling of I, so I'm gonna say that with the I. So Vanka.
I'm gonna put this on the screen for those that watch later, just so they can like do like the sing along and see if they can figure it out.
I'm gonna go with either Venkei Zili or Venkei Zile.
Close. It's Van Kazile.
Venkazile. Okay.
But I so he played for Hartford in the season I had it. I screwed his name up 3 times. So hey, listen, have an easier name. Like just be named Smith, and it'll make JuJu's life a lot easier. It'll make every PA announcer's life a lot easier. Yeah. I'm excited to see who you have to struggle with, because I always, when I see those players, I'm like, oh, I'm thinking about JuJu up there. Like, poor guy's gonna be struggling today on those. Want to get into some fun questions around your experience. Now, there was some controversy, JuJu, this year, or last season, I should say, around a certain ad read that you had to do. And so I'm going to ask you this question and just kind of get a preface on it. How many times do you think you had to announce the Chick-fil-A corner kick last season?
Like a rough estimate?
Yeah, just a ballpark. Man. What does your heart tell you?
We played about like 18, 19 games or something?
19. We had 21 total, I think, games when you count like the Open Cup and the Jägermeister Cup.
Are you also counting the watch party at the stadium?
I am only counting the games
inside the
that
stadium.
we were playing at home.
Okay. Dang. Let's say I said it about, well, there were some games where I didn't have to say it. I think there was one. I would say, I think 50 is a good number. I don't think I would have said it any more than 50. Wow. 63? 78? Oh my, 92?
104.
Wow.
You said the Chick-fil-A corner kick ad read 104 times. No, and I just want to say, from my heart to your heart, one of the best things as I watched you grow into this role was me thinking to myself, thank God I do not have to say the Chick-fil-A corner kick 104 times. Now, trick question for you.
Yeah.
How many times do we score and get that chicken sandwich, JuJu?
Oh, 0.
Big fat 0.
That's 0. I love y'all, but hey, and you know what's crazy is, I think one time we put it in the net and the refs called it back. I think it happened once. Because I was like dancing in the press box. I thought we had it. I turned around and I was like, oh, they're playing.
We started like trying to make desperate bargaining, where after the kick had been set in, like how many times did it move from player to player? Does it still, like, do you take a part of the chicken sandwich off? Do you lose the bun, the lettuce, the chicken? Well, at one point you just got the bottom piece of the bun. 0 times. I don't know if we're going to have that back this year, but Attleboro Chick-fil-A had they got the best bang on their buck in the history of advertising in Rhode Island, I feel like. That being said, if this comes back in one version or another advertiser, how do we lift this curse off of the corner kick ad read for 2026?
I don't know. Like, and that's the thing too. But here's the thing about the Chick-fil-A Attleboro corner kick. Like, it quickly became like kind of what I was known for over there, to be honest. What was so beautiful about the kick was, even later in the season, like, a lot of fans were coming back to the games. Sometimes I didn't even have to say stomp your feet and make some noise. We'd be up there kind of debating whether it was a corner kick or like kind of waiting for our producer to like say, hey, corner. But it's those first couple seconds. There were like a couple times where the guys kicked it pretty quick, but most of the time it's like let me walk over to the corner real quick and like take 20 seconds. But a lot of times we'd be like, hey, was that out? Like, was it a corner? And the fans would start stomping their feet. And I'd be like, okay, like the fans are kind of telling me it's a corner right now. And we throw the blue graphic up, and it's just like especially at night, it's so cool. But that was like people, like I'd meet people like at these events, or like maybe the wave kit night and stuff like that, and they'd be like, hey, can you do the Chick-fil-A Attleboro one? The kids love the Chick-fil-A read. That's what they always, whenever I meet them or we're at Autograph Alley, they're always saying that back to me. And like that's like a thing where, the club didn't tell me how to say it. They didn't, they were just like come up with something for it. I was like, all right. And now I'm like, it's time for the Chick-fil-A out of world corner kick.
Yeah, I'm getting PTSD.
Yeah, stop your feet and make some noise. But like, and sometimes, like I'd switch it up a little bit. Like if it's because there's sometimes we get like 3 straight corners in a row, and like I'd have to send it every time. So I'm like, it's time for the chicken. Like, but it's funny when like we get like repetitive one because like it's time for another Chick-fil-A out of a corner kick.
Was there ever a moment where you're like, just stop, just
get the ball
no
over
more?
There. I think I had to do it 3 times once, and it was a game where like maybe my voice was like kind of cooked, kind of needed some tea or something. And I was like, I remember I showed up and my voice was like good for the game, but I knew in my mind, I'm like, okay, let's score twice. Let me get through the lineups because I have like a gravel in my voice. And like, obviously it puts some like strain on my vocal cords sometimes. I'm young enough to where I can get away with that right now. I think when I'm older, I'm going to have to figure something out. But I was like, I just pray there's not 10 corner kicks tonight because if I'm going to do it, I want to do it the right way. I'm not going to be like, it's time for a Chick-fil-A out of a corner kick. You know what I mean? Like, no, you're going to feel that it's a corner kick. So yeah, it's just something that became a thing of its own. And like, I hope we do it this year again because I think it's my favorite read other than the starting lineup because I like announcing, but I like really getting loud and letting people feel like that because I think that's what I liked when I was little. Like when, I was watching WWE, those announcers were announcing the wrestlers to the ring and I was watching the shows of the dunk. I was like, oh, shoot, that's the Undertaker. You know what I mean? If the Undertaker's there, you're not going to go, oh, now I'm making his way to the ring, the Undertaker. No, you're going to be the Undertaker. You know what I mean? Right. Like that's how I feel like sports and entertainment should be felt and heard. And that's my it's my sauce.
In terms of loudness, like you were just mentioning a second ago, what was your favorite goal that you got to call last season? And maybe it's because of the performance on the pitch, or maybe just for you it was a personal, like you felt really good about that call. Like what was your goal of goals last season?
So I think there's a couple. Obviously, I think it's because of just like the impact of it. The Joe Brito goal. I was thinking that's the first goal that we scored. We drew that day, right?
We drew.
1-1.
He brought it back.
But when he scored, it was just like, okay, like this is my first goal call. You're gonna remember that one. The Maxi PK game winner, that was crazy. And then Chico's hat trick, like that night was like pretty special. We were playing Portland, but it was like it was cool because I love saying Chico. I'm so sick that he's going to Pittsburgh now, but I loved saying his name because like even with the players, I would like have different ways of saying their name. Obviously, like I love doing Coque last. We bring the volume down a little bit. And I'm just ripping off like a 10-second Coque. And with Chico, I'd be like Albert Chico, you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Noah Fuson, he had it was Busy. I think he scored that
his first goal.
Yeah, that was a memorable one.
Yeah. That was the advancing in the Birmingham Jägermeister.
That was awesome. And then I think JJ had one. He took his jersey. That was like a memorable one. I don't think I remember. Like I think my goal call sounds the same every time. So I think it's like okay, like what did I feel in the moment of like which one? And I think those 5 were like the standouts. But if I had to give you the first one, it'd be the Joe Brito one because that's my first one. So that's a special one.
That's awesome. Want to ask you beyond goal calling and announcing, you and I, we sit different sides of the press box, but we have that view, right? We have that exposure to the overall stadium, the overall experience, the vibe. What were some of the standout moments that you had in season 1 for your experience there? Like what were some of the, you mentioned earlier, like the merch filling up on that first home game, like what were some of the most memorable moments you had in the season just watching the crowd from afar?
Yeah, and that's what I always say too. Like I tell my people, I'm like, I would love to just watch a game here at some point. Like when they bring like lacrosse, like I think I'll just go watch because like you want to like be able to experience the stadium as well. And like obviously before the game, I'm always like walking around getting something to eat, like before I have to like lock in. But like there's just something different. I remember fireworks night. Okay, yeah. To answer that, I would say there's a couple things. I loved Vibe Check because I have such a respect and love for Flanny and Mike D. So just seeing them on the ones and twos, like any game. Like that's just like it was powerful, like anytime. Because the thing people don't realize about like Mike D is I was in elementary school and middle school getting dropped off. He used to be at Hot 106 doing morning shows. I like my mom's listening, like putting that on in the car before I'm getting dropped off to school. So I like Mike D's every time I host with him at the amp, I always say the legendary DJ Mike D, because for me, he's somebody I look up to. Even before I started working for the club, when I met him after we won the Eastern Conference Championship in year 1, they had the trophy at HQ, and I met him there. And I remember I was working for the mayor's office at that point, took a picture with the trophy, but I met him at that point. I was like, oh, that's Mike D. And then now he's like such like a companion of mine, like an older brother. Like that's the relationship with it. And obviously with Flanny, like having the PC like story together, and like us all coming together almost feels divine. And we're all from Pawtucket. But seeing them, like obviously there's a reason why I record myself on like, you know, Instagram and stuff. Cause I just think it's cool, and I like to bring social media to PA announcing. I'm like a Gen Z PA announcer. Like the PA announcing, it's like it's an older job, you know.
Usually, you are the youngest person in that room,
you know. But that's always what gives me an advantage. That's always what gives me. It's just something you haven't felt before, and I like to think my energy is infectious. I like to make people like, you know, like laugh and things like that. I just think that's who I am. But in the stadium, like seeing them just do their thing always spoke to me. I think the moment that a game that really stood out to me was July 5th, because we did CV it was on Cape Verdean Independence Day. My mom is an immigrant from Cape Verde. My grandmother, such an impactful woman in my life. So my Cape Verdean roots are really strong. I'm also Portuguese and French Canadian. I take a lot of my identity in who I am. I'm a mixed kid. I'm like a mutt, you know, like but I take a lot of the identity of who that is. And Cape Verde, we have a lot of Cape Verdean culture in Pawtucket. Like we're like mini Cape Verde. Brockton has us a number 1, but we're number like 2. But we had Cape Verdean Independence Day, which is July 5th. We had the game. I was able to fly the Cape Verde flag outside of my press box. Like that was such a great moment. But we had fireworks that night, and it was cool. And like it just felt so. There was just a moment. Like one of my best friends works for Community Crew, and he was like up near the press box, and when the fireworks go on, once the fireworks go on, I usually leave the press box because I want to enjoy it with the fans. Like I don't like watching from the press box because I'm like, oh, I need to go and experience this, because it brings me back to that kid at the left field burn at McCoy Stadium, you know. So seeing like families watch these fireworks, I'm like, this is just crazy, because you can't write it up any better from where my seat is, because across the river is the old Memorial Hospital where I was born in, and then to the left is the Pawtucket skyline with Tolman High School in the distance. So from my press box, I can see the high school that I graduated from and started my announcing journey, and the hospital that I was born in. There is probably nobody in the world that can say that, you know? And like, that's what makes it special. Like, I think anytime I get to like see that, even when I'm there by myself, like not by myself, but like even when I'm there, like there's no crowd and I'm up in the press box doing something, like just like I have to like stop and take a minute, because you're not going to get that. Any other opportunity I get going forward, it's not going to be like that. And that's what makes this so special, because it's personal. And like the people in the crowd are people that like, obviously I get to shine for it, but these are the people that really like built me, you know? So anytime somebody sends me a Snapchat at the game or tags me on Instagram or texts me, hey, I'm here today, you sound great, cool. Like that's what makes me smile up in the box, you know? Because it's just so personal. There was one game I had all my friends out to the game, and I took a picture with them at the end of the game. Like I was able to bring them on the pitch, and mind you, I'm 22. Like my friends are all 21, 22, 20, 23. Like we're all young, and we're able to like experience this thing that is just getting going,
right?
You know, like it's not even, let alone the Tidewater land space, it's not even complete yet. Like that space 10 years from now is going to be different, you know? And like, I just know that there's a lot of people not counting on me, but that look up to me. And like, I think it's important to understand that sometimes, because you don't want to be full of yourself, right? Like I have a lot of great confident energy, but you also want to be real about like who you do it for and like the people that are watching you. Like when I go to Autograph Valley and there's people that recognize me from social media, that's a win. You know, because that's an opportunity for me to actually like be me and not the announcer. You know, like I never like to like, oh, that's the announcer, but then I want to have a conversation because I want you to like feel who I am. That's why when you guys invited me on here, I'm like, yeah, I want to come talk because I think a lot of people don't like understand the human behind the voice.
Absolutely.
And I think I'm such a vibe outside of that, you know? So it's like, it kind of goes hand in hand. But to put an answer on that question, it's the community. Like there's special moments throughout the games and like, sports is a distraction from life. Sports is always going to be sports. You're going to win, you're going to lose, but you're going to show up the next time and you're going to support the club. That's how it goes. But having people there that love you, that matters because like I can think of the biggest job that I'd ever want, right? Like if I was the Yankees announcer, I'm a big Yankees fan. I'm sorry, guys. I know this is New England. It's inherited. It's inherited through the blood. But if like, you know, that's the Bronx. It's not Pawtucket. It's not people in your community there. It's not, you know, like, that's like it's special because it's a self thing. But when I'm up in the booth, it's almost like everybody that's been a part of my journey, Mike Neal, Frank La Liberty, like they're with me too. Like they get to win that too. That's why anytime I get hired by somewhere or I get an opportunity or people show me like love, it's like, man, you don't even understand the people that created this. Like obviously I had to put the work in and like believe in myself, but there were people that believed in me before I could even believe in myself. And I think that's what's important. And that's what goes back to the how do we get students? You just believe in them. You just put love and life in them. So I think anytime we can bring them out to games and we can do all these cool things and have them. I remember before one of the last games, we had a tour of Pawtucket high school students right before the game. They were touring the stadium.
I saw them. And
they're like so funny because when you're in high school, obviously you don't see the impact of it. And like, man, all right, this is cool. You know, like they'll meet me and they'll be like, oh, like, yeah, we know him. Like, cool. But it's until you take a step back and when they get older, they'll realize it, you know, like, it's just, you need to be exposed to things to see things. And like, I've had a million people, I was put in like tough situations growing up, but that's everybody. Everybody's going to have that. You're going to have tough cards that are laid to you. It's what you do with them that matters. And every time I look out the press box and I see an old teacher or I see a principal or I see a young fan, I just see myself. I just see myself in the community, you know? So that's why I like to like get down to the field anytime I can because I'm still a part of the community. Obviously, I have a tremendous responsibility to perform kind of like the players, but like just like to be consistent. And I want to like make sure I'm always delivering that because at the end of the day, it's a show. Sports entertainment now, it's a show. But that's my favorite moment, just looking out and seeing people from Pawtucket.
You know, I look at your growth, I look at your year one, and it's truly captivating. And I compare to the year one at Burn, and not for myself, but just like the difference of how fans consume the product, the overall infrastructure in place. And I laugh a lot of the times at some of the things that I don't want to, you know, you keep dropping Gen Z on me here. So I'm going to go old man millennial here for a second. You know, back in my day, we had a soundboard that didn't work. Flanny's mics crapping out if they got more than like 25 feet away from the receiver. We completely lost the production of the Star Spangled Banner on multiple occasions. And there was just a litany of problems because we were renting a facility that we couldn't call home, and we were trying to make the square peg fit in the round hole. And then, you know, like my favorite like oh no moment was I had just come from we had done some activity for some charities. Oh, we had done a 4th of July thing, and I was way overhydrated. And normally I wouldn't need to take a restroom break, but I needed to use the restroom, and there's no bathroom like there is now at Centerville Bank Stadium where it's right behind your booth.
Yeah.
I had to run down in the middle of reads and then ask people who were in line for the 2 porta potties if I could cut in front of them because I was the announcer.
Right.
But through all of that, just a lot of memories, a lot of experiences that most of the fans, most of the people that love this club will never know. I want to ask you, in your year one, were there any of those stories where you just like you look back and you can only laugh as you were, because you said earlier you were learning, you were growing into this experience. What is a story that fans might not know that, you know, it could have been really bad and you just squeaked it out at the last second?
Oh man.
Or was it just perfect and you were blessed with
No, like, so early on in the season, I think I started off with a headset mic like this, and there was like, I project very loudly. So if people can go on my like earlier videos earlier in the season, and you can see me touching my mic a lot and like bringing it closer to my mouth. So like I like to, like, you can hear me like that, but I like to, like,
same. I mean, I'm basically kissing mine right
I like
now.
to ASMR. And there was something about the sound that, in my opinion, sounded better when it was here. But we have our A1. Shout out my guy Sean. He puts it down a little bit because obviously I am very loud when I'm announcing. And that's like the beauty of audio, But early on, like, we had to change headsets because I remember we brought in a Rhode mic. Now we have a whole microphone system, like, it's kind of like this.
Old school with the button click and you hold it, or
I think it might be. This is a Shure mic.
Yeah,
it's this.
There you go.
So like, it's literally this. We have like a whole. I'm literally looking at the mic. Like, we have this connected to my.
I stole it from the booth earlier today.
Like, it's this, and I prefer this. Because I'd rather just have a headset, not have to like have, because with the buttons, it's like, yeah,
right.
That learning that was cool. From like that type of standpoint, what was fascinating was like the last game of the season. There was some technical difficulties within like our headset system. We quickly had to shift to wireless headsets, and that was like maybe an hour before game time. And like, it was a scramble, but it was like, okay, like, everybody stay calm, like, we're good to go. Everybody knew the show at that point. We have an amazing booth. We have an amazing producer. We have like that's another thing too. Like, obviously I talk highly about the community, but the show that gets put on at Rhode Island FC, obviously you hear me, but there's a million people that are in the press box that are helping that move along, and they are just so amazing at what they do, so talented. But learning that on the fly, like, we had to go switch to wireless, and then it was just like, it was a crazy experience because I'm used to maneuvering in chaos anyways. That's just kind of like my lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
But we learned as we went, and it was just so ironic that it was like the last game. But I was just like, dang, this is a pretty bad time because with upstairs, like, I also have to be able to speak to the producer, the people that are behind the scenes, like inside. I don't forget what room this is, but it's like the tech room, I guess you could say, like, and then everybody else is on headset. It's a show, you know what I mean?
Did they ever share the war stories of Bryant where we didn't have climate control?
No.
So in year one, we didn't have heat inside the studio.
Oh.
So it was just as cold as it was for fans in those early winter first games of the season.
Yeah.
And in the summer, there was no AC. So it was actually 10 to 20 degrees hotter in that box than anywhere else. So again, I am so jealous of just not only your journey, but the fact that you did not have to, and I hope you never have to experience those level of difficulties. I want to ask two final questions to wrap this up. One, over under, we see more crossbar challenge kicks, successful hits, than corners in 2026. What's the over under? Who's going to win this, Flanny or you?
And that's the thing too that was like crazy, was every time Flanny was doing it, I'm looking down and I'm like, another one? I'm like, dang.
I think they were at like 80%.
Our contestants were killing it.
Centerville Bank already spent so much money on that stadium naming, and then they just got ransacked for more money on that.
I'm like, dang, Flanny. But honestly, Flanny got it last year. Flanny, I'm not gonna lie, I think this might be my year.
All right, corner kicks is gonna beat out the crossbar challenge. I'd love to see it. And then I know you said this earlier, and it's such an interesting thing to you said how, like, once you have, when you were talking about goals and celebrate, you said, like, once you have it, like, it's best to just go with what you're comfortable with and like what defines you. But reflecting on your first year, if there was something you would want to adjust, to tweak, to introduce into your announcing, what would that be? Is there something that fans may see different from JuJu in 2026, or is it going to be more of 2025 at a whole new level?
Yeah, I mean, what I like to do is everything at like a consistent level, I guess. Now that now that I got 1 year under my belt, it's like, oh, okay, it's on now.
Little liberty here now. Yeah.
I felt like all I needed was one season. All I needed was one season to understand my sound. I grew confident over this past year. Announcing has helped me find my way. What fans can expect is the same voice, and just more content. You know, I think I want to be able to change PA announcing into a. I don't want to change the art of it. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, but I like to make PA announcing cool. You know, there's people that look at my Instagram and they'll be like, okay, like he does sports announcing. But people obviously don't. A lot of people my age don't even know what I'm actually doing. And I'm like, okay, this is what happens. Like, this is what I got to do. But we're making it cool because this is the thing about coolness or the jerk sauce. Once you got it, people are going to want it. So it's like, no matter what you do, it's always going to be cool. If I switched over to being a plumber, I'm going to be a cool plumber. If I switched over to being a state official, I'm going to be a cool state official. Anything I always do, it's going to be cool. It's going to be social media. It's going to be at a whole new level. I really hope people have a better idea of like who I am now. And yeah, don't be afraid to talk to me. I like walking up to people. I think a lot of people see me and like there's almost like a mystique because like there was like the year one and like I'm never down there with y'all and
us with us common people down there. Yeah.
It's the OGs. I call y'all the OGs. Like you guys are the best, but I have the same. I think that's what I want people to know. Like I have the same passion, not only for the club because it means so much, and I want to be able to celebrate with y'all too. You know, and just be engulfed in that culture. I remember right when I got hired, like, you guys were like, hey, like welcome aboard. We need to get you a divine scarf, all that stuff. And I'm like that's what felt like home. Like there is no other like sports community that I've ever been a part of, like with a stronger fan base than Defiance and La Banda. And like, that's the heart of it. What we do is just try to like amplify that, and like, you understand all that. And so for me going into this new year, expect new content, expect new drip. I'm going to try to get like better outfits throughout the season. My first game, I had a bad hairdo, but then we switched it up. So yeah, just like, comment, subscribe, do what you got to do. You know what I mean? Like everybody keep supporting Raising Anchor. Keep supporting me. You can find me on the gram, JU1UV, shameless plug, Ju1 Love. But yeah, I'm blessed. That's all it is. I'm very blessed.
Well, JuJu, I cannot wait, one, to continue to follow this amazing journey, and I can't wait to hear you scream 7 or 8 or 9 goals in a single game. But maybe less Chick-fil-A corner kicks in that regard, unless we're scoring them from there.
Right.
And I can't wait to see the collaboration on your future jerk sauce. Now, at this point, I almost want to see that happen. So
businesses hit me up. We need to clip that.
Hey, listen, you're a brand ambassador. Make it happen, man. Let's get Pawtucket on the map for some delicious jerk sauce. But I appreciate it nevertheless, and you are always welcome on the show anytime. And thank you so much for it, and can't wait to see what happens here in this 2026 season.
Matt, appreciate it, man. Much love.
Anchors up.
Let's do it.
In the meantime, make sure to check out our friends at the Blazing Musket for all your New England soccer coverage, including RIFC news at theblazingmusket.com. You can follow us on Twitter, Threads, TikTok, and Blue Sky at RIFC Podcast. Our Instagram handle is at Raising Anchor, and you can always check out our website, raisinganchorpodcast.com. Anchors up.